Welcome to Keeping It Weird with Courtney and Melissa. I'm Melissa. That's Courtney. Yeah, this is our first episode, and we are going to be kind of just pontificating about our neurodivergence, our backgrounds, introducing ourselves a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, so just a background of us as people, our friendship. Melissa and I met here in Fresno doing aerial arts. For those of you who don't know, that's like circus arts, flying in the air, kind of using silks and hoops and whatnot. It's fun stuff.
Cirque du Soleil.
Right, yeah. Think Cirque du Soleil, but, you know, small town.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
so
that level. But.
Right. So, yeah, we're in Fresno, California. And she and I met probably 2017-ish doing aerial arts. And we did that for a while, and then COVID hit. And that kind of killed everything. Yeah. So what was your experience with COVID?
My experience with COVID was a lot of stuff came to the surface that I had been able to repress or mask for a lot of years. I think a lot of neurodivergent people had that same experience. I started having a lot of episodes, what I now know were meltdowns. It was a very, very stressful time for many reasons. I won't go into like all of the things that were going on.
Wait.
Aside from the pandemic.
You're a nurse though, or were? We were a nurse at the time?
I was not a nurse at the time.
Oh, okay. I was like, whoa, hold the phone. That's the whole other story.
No. Well, I was, but I wasn't working as a nurse at the time. So yeah, thankfully, because that would have been too much. It was already, there was already so much going on. A lot of changes in my personal life. And then the world fell apart, and we all know how that was during that time. So I really struggled and started really having a lot of problems with emotional regulation, meltdowns, really realizing how lonely I was in my life. I always kind of was aware of that. I've always had a real big social struggle, but the pandemic just sort of like highlighted everything, for all of us, where it was like a lot of things just became glaringly obvious. So I started researching, of course, and came upon some information about autism in women and how that presents. There was actually like a few websites. When I was just Googling my things that were going on, and that kept popping up, was like autism. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I was reading about it. My daughter is actually diagnosed autistic. She's 14, but she got diagnosed when she was 8. So I'm aware that she and I had similarities, but I just never really thought about myself as it never dawned on me that I could also be autistic. So then I was like light bulbs going off everywhere, and I was like, dang, oh my gosh, I think I'm autistic. And I like went to my partner and I was like, this is going to sound really weird, but I think I might be autistic. And they were like, yeah, that would make sense. And I was like, okay, because I thought they would be like, no, I don't know. But yeah, they were like, yeah, maybe. And I was like, okay. So then I just started on a whole journey of just like researching and trying to find other people with the same story, because I didn't know, like, a lot of people came upon, I'm sorry, I like fidget and talk with my hands a lot.
I don't think there's a need to apologize in this environment.
True. We are keeping it weird. So I'm not a person who stumbled upon a bunch of content. I know there are a lot of people out there who came upon like TikTok or Instagram posts and stuff about people who are autistic and related to that, but I had no idea. I just found these lists of traits on the internet that were like, oh, autism women, whatever. And so then I went on this whole journey and started finding other people who had this same exact story. And I was like, oh, I'm not the only one that this is happening to. Maybe it's not so weird. So yeah, I went on the war path to find somebody to diagnose me, which is hard to do because as an adult, there aren't very many practitioners out there who are even willing to assess an adult for autism, or if you don't, if you do one thing that characterizes you as anything other. Like, I had one psychologist tell me that there was no way I could be autistic because I had been married before and I was in a relationship currently. She's like, so you're engaged and you've been married and you have children? And I'm like, yes. And she's like, that's not usually how it goes for autistic people. And I'm like, what?
First of all,
I think that's false.
Emphasis on the word usually. Does that mean that that's a defining characteristic? No, that's not the DSM.
I was just going to say, it's not in the DSM. It's not like married, disqualified. Like, it was really ridiculous. It was really ridiculous. I was just like, what? So anyway, I did find an organization that specializes in working with adults. I was able to get in. I had to wait 6 months for my assessment appointment, but finally I got it, and it was kind of an arduous process. It was like several days worth of things and like a stack of paperwork that you had to like fill out, and there was like family stuff, like people from your family had to be like interviewed, but like questioned, and I mean not questioned, but like there's stuff that you don't remember from your childhood where it's like
you gotta dig back.
Yeah, like you gotta go back and be like, hey mom, like how was I at this age or whatever. So yeah, then I got my diagnosis. Also a surprise ADHD diagnosis along with it, because that wasn't even on my radar at all. I was like, oh, I'm not ADHD, I don't think. But the practitioner was like, after reading through your intake and getting to know you and talking to you and hearing about your life, I'm going to give you this assessment too. And turns out, yeah, so I've both, and it does make sense after I started researching a little bit more about how both of those things present together. I'm like, yeah, that checks out. So here I am.
Can I ask why you didn't think you were, like, you definitively thought, am I ADHD? No, I don't think so. Why did you think that?
I think it was because I have a very skewed idea, or had, because I don't have it anymore. I had a very skewed idea of what ADHD really presented like, just like a lot of people have a skewed idea of what autism looks like.
Sure.
I kind of took at face value what I had seen in the media or whatever. It's like
hyper little kid bouncing around, can't sit still.
Exactly. And I'm like, I never had a hard time sitting still in school. I don't have a hard time paying attention, but I am very hyperactive. Even if I'm not being hyperactive in my body, my mind, when I am sitting still, my mind is still very hyperactive. And that can be a big component for women and girls, who have ADHD, is like, you may look completely calm and like you're in the zone and totally focused, but your mind's just like,
I am not here mentally. I'm on another planet.
So then I really thought about it, and I'm like, yeah, there are times that I really have a hard time focusing, at least. And I'm a busybody, so like I even have a hard time sitting through like an entire movie. And it's hard because my partner is like a huge movie buff and wants to like have movie marathons and stuff. And I'm like, I can hardly make it through one movie. So yeah, it was just, there was a bunch of stereotype information in my brain. And I was like, I don't think I have ADHD. But then again, once I started researching ADHD in women and girls and how it presents in conjunction with autism and everything, and I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, that does seem a little bit more accurate.
So more on the inattentive end.
Yeah. Oh, and also another big thing that made me think I didn't have ADHD is I was under the impression that if you have ADHD, that stimulants automatically
paradoxical.
Yeah. But I'm very sensitive to stimulants.
Right.
Like I can't really handle like caffeine or anything like that. So that made me think like, oh, well, that right there tells me something. But then I found out that that's not always true in every case.
It's a tendency, but it's not a hard line.
So that was like 2 years ago now, I think, or a little bit more. I don't know even what time is anymore.
I never thought I was hyperactive either, because everybody always, I got so many comments growing up about how patient I was, but it was really because I was a hardcore daydreamer. Like I'll design a whole business just while I'm sitting in the car waiting for my boyfriend at the bank. Like you, I didn't realize that was a thing. I didn't know there was an inattentive. I thought it had to be hyperactive. But the other thing is, I also had a million hobbies and extracurricular activities. So the aerial stuff alone, like if you're in your 30s, like doing stuff that's like aerial 3 days a week and performances and stuff, that's hyperactivity. It's just structured hyperactivity, so you don't realize it. You just think you have fun hobbies.
Yes. That is very true. I also have a bajillion hobbies, and a lot of them are active hobbies. Right. Like I really like to move my body. I don't enjoy sitting still very often. I tried to get on recently because I'm really like into space and space travel in particular. And I'm like, I'm going to start building like I really want to build a model rocket or like model. And it's so hard for me to sit for a long enough period of time to like get a chunk of work done on something like that. So I've had the same thing sitting there that I just keep looking at and like feeling annoyed at myself for not finishing yet. And I'm like,
I'm gonna build you one day.
I have it halfway built, but it's like my activities are more like, what can I do that can allow me to just like run around and hang upside down and do cartwheels and be crazy, and roller skating, aerial, pole. I just started doing pole. What else?
Well, you guys opened your own gym, didn't you, at one point?
My partner and I opened a gym because I was really into CrossFit for a while. I still like CrossFit, but I was like really into it for a while. Yeah. That's another thing where it's like you find a new thing and you're like, I'm going to make this my entire personality.
Yeah.
And
But the good thing is that you probably met a lot of people like us there.
For sure. Yeah, you always meet the people that are like hardcore into the thing that you're into. And that makes it easier to make friends. Yeah. I'm sure we'll talk a lot about social things on this show.
Right. Are you born and raised Fresno?
No, I'm from Washington State.
Oh.
Yeah. But I've been in Fresno for like 15 years.
Wow. What brought you here?
My ex-husband, was my husband at the time, is from here, and he had a job opportunity, so he wanted to move back, and his family was here and stuff, and I was like, I don't want to go to Fresno, and nothing against Fresno, but I was just like, I liked the Pacific Northwest, my whole family was there, but I decided I wanted to be supportive, and
now you're trapped because of kids.
Now I'm trapped because we share a child, but it's fine. It's grown on me. I like California a lot. People have a lot of like bad things to say about California, but I don't know.
Well, Fresno is different than the rest of California.
That's true, but I like California as a whole. I enjoy the state, so there are things about it that make it unsavory, like the cost of everything and whatever. But I don't know. I like California.
I do too.
Yeah. So.
So I was born and raised in California, but I was up north, up above Napa Valley, Clear Lake it's called. I wanted to get out of there as soon as possible when I graduated high school. Like, no hate towards my hometown. I absolutely love my hometown, and I consider the town itself my family.
Yeah.
It was like the village that raised me, but I was just like a rat trapped in a cage, and I needed resources, because at that time, long before the internet, no, this wasn't before the internet. I had the internet. I had the internet when I was like 12, I think, and I was already addicted immediately before even people had computers in their house. Yeah. Which should have tipped me off if I knew anything. But anyway, back then, like, computers still just had like encyclopedias on them on a disc, and I wanted theaters, I wanted events, I wanted projects and libraries and, things to do, places to go, people to meet. And so I went to New York City.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I went from a town of 3,000 to New York City, Manhattan.
Okay.
And went to school for musical theater. And because I couldn't choose just one, singing, dancing, or acting, I had to do all of them. But the cool thing was that I was surrounded by my type of people my whole life. Yeah. My family, I always surrounded my friends with people like me. I didn't know what that meant at the time, obviously, but I just said my people. So then in musical theater school, I felt right at home, and it was very stimulating. The only thing is, I could not memorize scripts, and I could not memorize dance combinations. And when I got nervous, it was like times 1,000. And I got bullied really hard by adults. My choreographers, my professors, they just thought that I was not trying hard enough. Like, I didn't care. But never mind that I'm shaking in the corner and like, Yes. Anyway, I don't mean to go through my whole life story here, but fast forward, I was done with theater, went to LA to do film and television. I ended up starting a walnut snack company. Fell in my lap and grew, and that brought me to Fresno because this is where the walnuts are. So but when I moved from LA, it was culture shock because I don't have my people here. Yeah. Like, this is not a very creative, like, super weird, people-friendly area at all. And as we were talking earlier, like, it's a very, like, everybody wants to be cool, and it keeps people from expressing themselves, especially the weird part of them. Right. And it's hard for me to find my people because I can't recognize them because they're all masking. Yeah. And then it's also just hard for me to feel comfortable being myself, I carry a lunchbox instead of a purse. I have pink hair. I'm, like, the only one in Fresno with pink hair. Which is so silly because everywhere else I go, there's people with colored hair. But anyway. So I've been in Fresno for several years, since 2016. Yeah. Still have not made friends. I have no community. Still have no social life here. And it's really frustrating and depressing. And COVID, like, times 1,000, because, I loved being a true neurodivergent. I actually really loved the isolation, and I loved, like, diving into my backyard and building a garden and making masks for all the nurses, and I kind of liked that everybody else was in the same boat as me, not having friends around.
Yeah, the FOMO was like non-existent because no one was going out and doing anything, and I tend to get like really sad when looking at social media and seeing everyone's like very active social lives and friends and girl groups and stuff, and I'm just like, I don't have any of that. And so it's like, that was a good part of COVID, to be like, everyone's home, just like me.
I'm not missing out on anything.
I know. Now you gotta know how it feels.
So I've had many video game addictions. I wouldn't say many. I've had major ones. So I lost 2 years of my life to World of Warcraft. Okay. I say lost, but I really enjoyed it, and I still like daydream about it and miss it. But so it was a part of me. And I also had like a game that I played on my phone called Battle Camp for years that I did way too much. But I remember during COVID, I was talking to a friend and I was like, I can't get myself to work. I can't pull myself off this video game. I don't know what to do. I hate this. And my friend was like, do you have ADHD? And I was like, is that a thing I could have? Like, isn't that what... First of all, I was like, is that the same thing as ADD? Is it different? Is that for little kids? Isn't that just little hyper boys? Mm-hmm. Is that a real thing? Like, I know nothing about this. And so I just started researching the symptoms. But I only saw the symptoms that are like in the DSM, like the criteria, the official criteria, which is just like can't sit still, blah, blah, blah. And so it was like, oh yeah, this definitely resonates. I'm gonna schedule an assessment and see if they think, you know, that it fits, because it kind of sounds like it does. Well, okay, so I did get my diagnosis. I remember I've had 2 assessments from different doctors, because when I got with Kaiser, they had to do their whole thing. But both times, the doctor just let me talk for an hour, and then, like, at the end was like, so yeah, it sounds like you have ADHD.
You're like, oh, it's that obvious. I see.
And what bothers me is, like, why did not a single therapist catch this? It was so obvious. And I did this in every single one of my sessions, and none of them mentioned a word of it. Yeah. And this could have helped me so long ago. But thankfully, I finally got it on my own. And then, like, a couple months later, maybe like 3 months later, I actually got on TikTok, and that was when everybody who discovered they had ADHD was hyper focusing on TikTok and learning about their disorders. And so I got to learn all of the characteristics and stuff. Now, it was kind of the perfect storm, because I had spent prior years of my life doing musical theater and comedy writing and doing comedy sketches and stuff. So I already had the tools to like do engaging, fun videos. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm just gonna start doing ADHD stuff. And I did, and it went like mega viral, and I got this huge following. But the people, and let me tell you, the audience, my followers, my community, is the most loving, healing, supportive group of people I have ever witnessed. It's like my long lost family, and it's incredibly healing. And I can count my trolls on one hand in the last 2.5 years. And even then, like, they're just coming to me with their trauma, and I've even like flipped a couple of them because we've just kind of dug into like, why are you hurting? So it's just an amazing atmosphere for people with neurodivergence. So if you're on TikTok, I highly recommend going in and searching for ADHD and neurodivergent creators, because that community in the comments, in the live sessions, it's your long lost family, I promise you. So anyway, there was that really awesome environment that I was just kind of catapulted into. And at the same time, people were looking to me for advice. So they were starting to ask me questions about ADHD, and then tips and tricks, and like relying on me as an expert. And I was like, okay, well, here's the thing. These people need answers. I kind of want to know the answers anyway. I want to help them, and I also want to make sure that my content is legit, and like I don't want to like put out a video, have it go viral, and then go, oops, I said something that's totally just wrong according to research, you know? Yeah. So I just started like doing a bunch of research, and I started going through ADHD coaching training, and then I went back to school, and in true ADHD fashion, I way overloaded my plate. So now I'm back in school. I'm about to graduate with my degree of psychology and addictions, and I'm a certified ADHD coach. And I study ADHD just for funsies anyway, all day, every day. And so why not get a degree in the meantime?
That's very ADHD of you to be like, I'm gonna do it all. Similarly, I started a podcast when I started on my whole journey, and selfishly, I was doing it for myself just because I kind of like to process things out loud. I'm a very verbal processor, and you can only talk to, and this was during quarantine too, so it's like my fiance can only listen to me talk for so long, and I didn't have a therapist at the time, and I was just like, I need to talk some of this stuff out. How do I do it? And I'm like, you know what? I am a talker, so I'm like, I should podcast this, and if anybody listens and gets anything out of hearing like my journey in real time, because it's as I was going through it, as I was waiting for my assessment, as I was coming to all these realizations, then that's great if people want to listen. And similarly to you, it kind of blew up beyond anything I ever thought it would be. And also similarly, the community that I've gained, I have a Patreon community now. Like, everybody's so nice to each other on there, and it's just become like this little hub for this group of people to like connect with other people who are like them and share their struggles without judgment and all of this stuff. And yeah, like you said, it's very healing, and you feel like you finally found your people, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is great. Like, people who actually understand me and who have the same or similar struggles. And it's just been really, really great. So yeah, that's why I came to you and I was like, hey, we should collaborate because we have pretty similar stories. We both, kind of know a lot about the respective things that we've studied about these things, and
we're both tired of talking about it alone.
Yeah, we could talk about it with someone else. I mean, we're still going to keep our respective singular things going, but yeah, I think this is going to be a really great way to sort of bring more content to people who need it, and
having fun. Like, there aren't any spaces really for specifically neurodivergent people to like come and just be weird together, and just enjoy our weirdness with each other. So,
and talk about our things in a more lighthearted way, and not because, being neurodivergent, one of the stigmas about ADHD and particularly autism is that it's like, oh, it's sad. Before I was autistic, or even now, when I don't mention that I'm autistic, but I'll say something about like my kid being autistic, and people's demeanor changes instantly. They're like, oh,
that must be so hard.
Oh, and you're like, why are you like, oh, like I just said that she has like a horrible incurable disease or something. Yeah. It's like, it's because so much of the conversation around these things is negativity based. It's like, here's all the problems that come from this stuff, and none of like the great or amazing things. And like, also, there's struggles, but we can kind of sometimes make light of those and try and be like, okay, like this, I do this all the time now that I know that I'm autistic, and I can give myself more grace and be like, okay, this totally weird, awkward thing happened, but I can sort of laugh about it now and be like, it's because I'm autistic. Like, I said a really weird thing.
Right.
And that's okay.
Totally. And among your people, we can all laugh and go, oh, that's so us. You know?
Like, oh, I've done that before.
Yeah. It doesn't, like, obviously there will always be time to grieve and process trauma. Yep. And really sit in your struggle for a minute and, and own the emotion. But the rest of the time, like, let's find tools and ways to navigate through this stuff, and let's relate to each other and let's laugh about it. Because, why dwell in stuff when you can use it moving forward?
Okay, so now we are going to go into a couple of little segments.
Friends and followers!
Yeah. So this is where we're going to suggest some people who speak to our soul, who we enjoy, who we think you guys might enjoy. Right. The first one that I have is a neurodivergent specific thing. It's a podcast that I love. It's called Uniquely Human. An autistic man and another non-autistic man, and they discuss all kinds of things related to neurodivergence. It's a really great podcast, and I really enjoy listening to that one. So
cool. That's my recommendation specifically to ADHD is ADHD coach Ryan. His name is Ryan Mayer. He's fantastic. He has a very positive, bubbly energy. He had to be my first recommendation because he's the one who actually turned me on to this whole thing. He's the one who actually believed in me and encouraged me. And I specifically remember my first engagement with him was one of his videos where he talked about how ADHD is a disability under the ADA. And it was just permission for me to forgive myself and actually be proud of how far I've come despite having a disability. And I remember just sitting there and weeping, just collapsing on my floor and just waterfalls of grief. But when I joined him live, he just had such a positive, bubbly energy, and he's just so like infectiously happy, and he gives so many like helpful tips and tricks, and he's a coach, so he's fantastic.
Cool. My second one is a TikTok account that I thoroughly enjoy. Her name is Morgan Presley. You may have already heard of her. She is a weirdo through and through, like the best kind, and that's what her whole TikTok account is about. It's about celebrating her weirdness, and just being authentically who she is. And I just so like love and appreciate people like that who are just like marching to the beat of their own drum. I just love it.
Totally uninhibited. That's fantastic. So my second recommendation is an artist who I think we all know, and most of us love her already, but if you haven't been like actually digging in and following her and like digging into all of her albums, I highly suggest looking up Pink again, because I feel like everything that she writes completely speaks to our struggles, and she gets it. Like, no matter what you're feeling right now, she's got a song about it, and she just hits the nail on the head. And I know a lot of us neurodivergencers already follow her. I know I actually have a group of friends who just go and watch Pink concerts together. It's pretty cool. So yeah, go give her a follow. She just came out with an album called Trust Fall. It's pretty great.
Yeah, our second segment is called Love-Hate Relationship. And
it's a love-hate relationship.
This is where Courtney and I will find a thing that one of us loves and one of us hates, and
how as it relates to our neurodivergency.
Yeah. And kind of just discuss about it. Yeah.
So the first one is grocery stores. And I think this is a popular one that people either love or hate. Mm-hmm. And it really kind of has to do with whether you're understimulated or overstimulated. And I tend to be understimulated a lot, so I love grocery stores. And I will spend hours upon hours upon hours there if you let me, because I will look at every little object and I will think of all the things that I can do with it and get excited.
And grocery stores for me are like hell on earth. They're too big. I don't like the carts and the people and the trying to navigate around, and it's just a lot. And they're always like, you guys know, those of you who are with me on the grocery store thing,
and there's a lot of stimuli.
Oh, it's always cold.
So many
decisions to make. Yeah, the lighting in there is harsh. Like let's get rid of the fluorescence. Do some like ambient lighting. Like
that's brilliant.
Down in there. For most of my grocery store shopping, I shop at Trader Joe's because, for one, I like Trader Joe's products. They have a lot of things I do like, but the store is so small, and the way it's like set up, I know where everything is. I usually try and go when it's not busy, so I can like get in, get out. It's like perfect.
That's got to be the key, because honestly, Trader Joe's is one of those stores that kind of overwhelms me because it's so like tight quarters that I get super stressed out if I have to navigate around people, because I'm like, I can't look at all the things, and that stresses me out. But yeah, I guess if you go hours.
It's two different perspectives on the same store. Where for me, like a bigger store is way more overwhelming, because I'm like, the ceiling's so big, and the aisles are so wide, and where do I even start? There's 32 aisles, and at Trader Joe's you have like 4 aisles, and you're like, I know where everything is. I get the same. We have to probably do an episode at some point on same foods, because I eat the same like 5 meals for every single week, and I'm like, okay, I know exactly what I'm getting, exactly what aisle it's on, in and out. The only thing about Trader Joe's that I will say, I know they're trying to make it like a positive thing, but the small talk at the register, some of the cashiers are really good at it, where it feels like natural, but some of them, you can tell that it's a thing that they're supposed to do, and some of them aren't as good at it, so they're like, so, is this your last stop of the day? And I'm like,
do you eat this soup often?
I'm like, I feel like they're maybe given prompts, because so many of the times that I go there, I'm asked the question about, is this your last stop of the day? And I'm like, and if it's not, I just lie and always be like, yeah, I'm headed home. But because I'm like, I don't really know how
we can end this immediately.
Yeah, because I'm like, don't want to be like, no, I actually still have to go to Target. I need tampons, or like, like, how much do you really want to know about the rest of my day?
Really, exactly.
I don't know if you really want to know. Oh, I have to go get my daughter off the school bus, and then we're gonna go. I'm just like, you don't
care. My teeth clean.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, no, I'm actually just going home right now. Like, usually I am just going home.
Yeah, not many people are like, oh, you have a concert after this. Like, we're going grocery shopping. We're probably just doing chores.
Going home. You gotta put stuff in the fridge, and I'm like, I have freezer items in the bag. Why don't you make your own conclusions? God. I'm like, no, I'm running around a million other places so my ice cream can melt out of the back of my car. Yeah.
That's such a good point.
So, damn it, Trader, just come up with some new questions.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I don't know why every retailer assumes that everybody likes small talk.
Yeah.
Why is that a thing?
Just don't even look at me. Just take my money and give me my bag.
Right. So many of us get stressed out by small talk that, like, you'd think that one of the retailers would be like, yeah, maybe don't, like, tackle someone as they come in and ask them if they need help, you know? Maybe they just want to look without someone breathing down their neck.
Yeah. So true. Oh my gosh.
Anyway, I digress.
Stores. Yeah.
But I love grocery stores. I especially love the very, like, eclectic ones. Like, I love Sprouts because they have all the weird stuff.
Sprouts is good.
They even have, like, a weird meat section. And as much as I'm trying to not eat meat,
Yeah.
I used to have these, like, weird food and poker nights where I would invite all my friends over and they would have to bring a weird food. Oh. And then we would all we would eat together and then play poker.
All right. That sounds like
and so we'd always
horror show to me. Weird foods. Okay.
Yeah, see, this is classic understimulated versus overstimulated.
Yeah, I'm like, no, give me the same food.
Is it chicken nuggets? Because
invite me over and make me what I eat for dinner every Monday.
Yeah. So but I can go to the meat section and have like venison and wild boar and all these weird things, and I love it.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And I love all the weird vegan foods too. But what about like little like mom and pop health food stores? Do you like those?
It depends. Sometimes they smell weird in there.
That's fair.
You know?
That's fair. They do kind of smell.
It's like an apothecary. You're like, this is a lot.
Kind of dust.
I just wanted some chips. Dust and essential
oils.
Fungi.
Yeah. Patchouli.
I do love patchouli, but on my own terms. Right. Not in the mood.
Not with my food. Right. Yeah. No, I love little mom and pop grocery stores. I think they're so much fun because they got all the weird stuff. That's the only place I can get carob chips.
What is a carob chip?
So back before there was all these like substitutions for chocolate and sweetener and stuff, instead of chocolate chips, this is like back in the 80s and 90s, they would have carob chips because they thought that was healthier, you know.
I have heard of that, yes.
Maybe it was for people with allergies or something, I don't know. You know, maybe people are allergic to chocolate, I don't know. But for some reason, the health community decided that they would eat carob chips instead of chocolate chips.
Are they good?
Most people say no. And I said no at first too, but it's one of those things where I developed a taste for it and then I got obsessed.
So you didn't like it, but you kept eating it until you did like it.
Yes, because I was a binge eater. So that's very common with ADHD.
That makes more sense.
I have major binge eating tendencies, and so when the cupboard is empty and all that's staring at you is carob chips, you go for the carob chips until you like them.
Sure, I can get down with some carrot chips. That's also a thing.
That is also a thing, yeah. Also the same store.
Yeah.
Okay, so second topic for love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
Space.
So I did mention earlier in the episode that I'm a space nerd. I love space.
You even have a space tattoo.
I have a space tattoo. I particularly am really obsessed with the space race era of like the 1960s. Very into that. Space travel, the universe in general. It's fascinating. It makes you feel super insignificant, which I somehow love.
Yeah, I hate that.
Okay. So I'm like, Courtney mentioned that she doesn't like space, and I'm like,
so I hate space. And the reason I hate space is because it's indefinite, which I have a really hard time with. I don't like infinity. I don't like things that don't have a start and a stop. Largely because I get dopamine from resolve. So, and most people do. That's why we like slot machines. It's why we gamble. You know, we're immediately saying, "Am I going to win something?" And then you immediately get an answer. You know, that's why clicky pens are such a stim, because there's a stop and a start, right? It resolves. Yeah. But space doesn't resolve. It just keeps going, and there's these concepts that are just get more and more complicated, and then they're like, oh, the scientists discover this other thing, and they're not, it always ends with, they're not really sure yet why. Yeah. So I never get the answers.
But it's so, I can understand. I guess I can understand that from certain people's perspectives, how that would be maddening. To me, it's fascinating, and I love learning about all of the different theories that maybe haven't been proven or maybe will never be proven. I read an entire book on all of the ways that the universe may eventually end. There's like 5 different theories in there that she like deep dives into.
Whoa.
And it was so interesting to just be like, man, like we don't know. We have no way of knowing. Yeah, I get why that could be kind of like a little bit weird.
Yeah, it makes
for people to wrap your head around. I like the insignificance aspect because sometimes it helps me just like chill out about what the hell is going on in my life.
It's
where
not
I'm like,
that serious.
You know, in 5 billion years, the sun is going to burn out. And we're not even gonna, like, of
no
course,
one will care what you said.
No one will care. Of course, no one will care what I said long before that happens. But, like, honestly, I'm like, eventually none of this is even going to exist. Our planet is not even going to probably be here anymore. The sun is going to swell up into a giant, massive ball of flame and then die out.
Yeah.
And
Nothing except the universe itself is infinite.
Yeah. So... there you go.
Well,
good reminder.
Actually, the one thing that kind of gave me peace of mind was, so I went through this documentary series. I forgot the name of it, but I think it's in like 3 sections where they go into like the parts of the universe and the different theories and stuff. And there's the one about like how if you take all of the mass and energy in the universe and like put it together, it cancels each other out into nothing. And nothing is a concept that I can get behind. I get nothing.
Okay.
And if I'm imagining like something, the something still gets me because we don't know what and how or when or who or... But something happened and the universe just kind of like split, like the nothingness just split and created the universe. But if it all fits together into nothingness, that kind of puts my brain at ease.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I just have to not think about, like, why did it stop being nothing at some point? And why does anything exist? Why does anything exist, ever?
And that is not to get nerdy or start info dumping, but that is one of the theories about how the universe will eventually end. It's called the Big Crunch, where basically the universe reaches a point where everything stops expanding and starts contracting, and we eventually end up back where we started when the Big Bang happened, which is like...
But that means that there's some sort of boundaries at the edges of the universe. But what's beyond that? There can't be boundaries.
Well, there are the theories of like the multiverse. There's multiple universes. There's parallel universes. So no one's saying the universe is infinite. It's just we don't really know.
Something is infinite, right? Because if there's always something beyond that. Well, what's beyond that?
Yeah.
You know, and the question never gets resolved. It's the why game. But why?
I can tell you're getting
why? I can't.
Very stressed out. This is a hot button topic. Are you going to need a Xanax when we're done?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot. I love it for some reason. I love the uncertainty of it and all of the theories. And I'm just like, yeah, wow, there's something going on out there. I've cried about space. I'll be reading something about it and I'll just be like, tears coming down because I'm like, this is just so beautiful. It's just so, it's overwhelming in such a good way to me, but it seems like it's overwhelming in a bad way to you. So there you go.
I mean, there's some things that I can appreciate, like if I can compartmentalize enough, but just when we get into like the unending things, it really, I can't handle it and we need to talk about something else.
That's it. Yeah. That was a fun first episode. Yeah, I think we did good.
Yes, and we want to be very interactive with our followers, so we're going to start interacting with you guys. If you have questions, if you have topics that you want us to cover, we're also going to do kind of a little talent show segment, like a look what I can do. And we'd love to show off your talents. So if you have cool tricks, because with ADHD, we have hyperfocuses, and with autism, we have special interests. So that leads to a lot of really cool things that our neurodivergent community can do. So show off. If you have something to show off, please email us. It could be a video. It could be an actual physical piece of art. It could be, I don't know, a cool trick that you do with your elbow because you're hypermobile. Don't really do that, though, because be nice to your joints. Let's be healthy.
Yeah. Do safe things.
Let's not damage our bodies in the meantime.
Yeah. You could be an artist. You could be a writer. You could be a musician. You could be a person who can do cool things with their body.
Yeah. Maybe you have a cool tattoo. I don't know.
Maybe you know a lot about a particular topic that you think that we'd be really interested in.
Yeah.
I love learning new things. Info dump us, baby.
Yeah. All right, friends. Stay weird. We love you.
Yeah.